After the break, new concerns tonight over Sellafield nuclear plant. And the Dome boss tells how he plans to turn its fortunes around. Join me.
This is Carlton, part of the ITV network. In 20 minutes, news of happenings in London tonight.
New report slams systematic management failure at Sellafield. The Dome boss promises to sort it out by the Easter holidays. Doctor cleared over hysterectomy without consent. And Collimore's final chance after club fine.
From ITN, the ITV Nightly News with Dermot Monaghan.
Good evening. The management of the British nuclear fuels plant at Sellafield on the Cumbrian coast will come in for heavy criticism in a report from the nuclear safety watchdog tomorrow. It blames systematic management failure for allowing plutonium records at the plant to be falsified. Those untrue records have already caused a lot of trouble with BNFL's biggest customer, Japan. Here's Helen Wright.
Here at the Health and Safety Executive, they're promising tomorrow's report won't pull any punches. The 40-page document will explain in detail how, where and why data at Sellafield was falsified. An inspection of this unit, called the MOX plant last year, found that checks on fuel rods sent to Japan hadn't been carried out, and that records which seemed to show the work was done were actually copied from previous checks. The report will blame a systematic failure in management. Tonight, British Nuclear Fuels, which runs Sellafield, said the focus at the top of the company is on learning from these events and moving forward. We should not allow these events to overshadow the major management achievements of the past few years. But the report is expected to detail major changes needed at the plant and to raise questions about general safety. Earlier this week, the Trade and Industry Secretary made it clear he expects improvements.
The events do show a fundamental flaw in the management at BNFL, and that has to change.
Greenpeace believes a review of the whole industry is now needed.
It's time to look at reprocessing afresh, and I think the only conclusion that you can come to is that it should end.
The government had hoped to privatise part of British nuclear fuels during this Parliament. Ministers will now have to take tomorrow's report into account, and that could mean the project is put firmly on the back burner. Helen Wright, ITN at the Health and Safety Executive.
The Frenchman brought in from Euro Disney to rescue the Millennium Dome gave himself a month today to make a success of it. Pierre-Yves Gerbeau called himself the right man for the job and said visitor numbers were already rising. He talked to ITN's Paul Davis.
Tonight, the Dome was the setting for the closing show of London Fashion Week. Spice Girl Emma Bunton among the audience as designer Julian MacDonald unveiled his new collection. An appropriately high-profile end to the day in which the new man in charge unveiled his vision of the Dome's future. Pierre-Yves Gerbeau has had just 10 days to identify what's gone wrong at the Dome. He says most of the improvements he'll be implementing have been suggested by staff. The new chief executive says the Dome should be the most exciting attraction in Europe, but he's highlighted a number of faults that need to be corrected. First of all, action is promised to cut queuing time. There'll be more characters and entertainment to make waiting in line a better experience. Catering and shopping facilities will be improved to give a better service and persuade visitors to part with more of their money. And a big advertising campaign is planned to make more people in Britain and overseas aware of what's on offer here. Monsieur Gerbeau says it's mostly fine-tuning. He's already encouraged by a recent increase in visitors and revenue.
It's amazing, and it's been the best news so far. I mean, we had the best Monday ever. Over 16,000 people on a rainy February Monday. How about that? We had about 24,000 people last Saturday in here.
Monsieur Gerbeau today set a target of 10 million visitors for the year, a figure he believes will only be achieved if the Dome is operating to full potential long before the crucial Easter school holidays. Paul Davis, ITN, Greenwich.
A woman care worker has been suspended from her job after it emerged she was one of the 28 people named in this week's Waterhouse child abuse report. The Department of Health said she was working in the West Midlands in a position which might have involved contact with children. A consultant gynecologist accused of removing a woman's womb and ovaries without her consent was today cleared of serious professional misconduct. The surgeon, Ian Ferguson, nevertheless made a public apology to Caroline Richmond, a medical journalist, for the enormous hurt he'd caused her. Tom Bradby has the full story.
Ian Ferguson was accused of mutilating one of his patients, but today he was cleared of any wrongdoing. As his patient, Miss Richmond, looked on, he said he was grateful for the decision, but profoundly sorry for any distress he'd caused.
I have always understood that she has suffered an enormous hurt as a result of my treatment of her, and I have felt very humbled over the years by causing it.
Miss Richmond said the apology made no difference and the decision was wrong.
I think it's very bad news for women. I'm not disappointed because the damage has been done to me, but I wanted to stop it happening to thousands of other women.
Ian Ferguson said during the hearing he'd removed Miss Richmond's womb because he'd found a lump during surgery, later found to be benign. She said she'd gone in for a much lesser treatment and expressly said beforehand she didn't want a hysterectomy.
Members of the General Medical Council may have found Mr. Ferguson not guilty of professional misconduct, but they say this is one of the most difficult cases they've ever heard. They say he was right to go on with the surgery, but that his counselling skills left much to be desired.
You're a special one.
Tonight, Miss Richmond was at least relieved the hearing was over. She said this had been all about making sure no other woman has to go in for a minor operation, only to wake up and find major surgery has been performed. Tom Bradby, ITN, Central London.
An overhaul of the adoption laws was promised today in the wake of the child sex abuse scandal in care homes in North Wales. There are thousands of children in care who could be in families if would-be adopters didn't have so many obstacles put in their way. Here's John Draper.
The Ellicots are an example of how the arbitrariness of childcare procedures can prevent couples adopting. They were told they were too fat after they started training as potential parents. Other couples are rejected for different reasons because the rules vary across the country. The Prime Minister wants to cut the bureaucracy, particularly following the North Wales Children's Home scandal. His aim is to cut the number of youngsters in residential care and put more with families.
We ought to take a very serious look at the different ways in which adoption is dealt with throughout the United Kingdom. Some of them are not very satisfactory at all, and again it's the length of time which is the problem.
In England alone, 55,000 children are in care, many in foster homes. 7,000 are waiting for adoption, which takes on average 3.5 years. Adoption groups say red tape should be cut, but reform needs careful handling.
In the light of the Waterhouse findings, we know that children are also abused in private families. Foster carers and adopters need very careful screening. We can't short-circuit that. That's not right.
The Conservatives, when they were in power, had a bill to reform adoption, but it ran out of parliamentary time. Many of the ideas in it, though, are being looked at by Mr. Blair. And with the Prime Minister showing such an interest, it's more likely that reforms will become law. John Draper, ITN, Westminster.
Home Office figures out today estimate the number of rape and sexual assaults against women could be as high as almost 300,000 a year. The figures are much higher than the number of reported cases, and they show almost half are so-called acquaintance rapes. The Conservative MP Theresa Gorman faces being banned from Parliament for a month for failing to declare property interests. The Parliamentary Committee on Standards and Privileges also accused her of trying to cover up links with 3 offshore companies. Mrs. Gorman tonight dismissed the report as ridiculous. The executive of Germany's Christian Democrats have been in emergency session in Berlin tonight over the campaign finance scandal which has left them leaderless. Helmut Kohl is deeply implicated, and so it proved yesterday is his successor, Wolfgang Schäuble. Our Europe correspondent Bill Neely reports.
Tonight, the biggest Conservative party in Europe is meeting in crisis, fighting for its life. It has no money, no leader, and no future unless here and soon it chooses well and frees itself from Europe's biggest political scandal. A scandal centred on Helmut Kohl. He united Germany but has divided, almost destroyed his party. Once he had a lot to say, today nothing about the fall of his chosen successor. Wolfgang Schäuble once survived an assassin's bullet, but not this scandal. He has resigned as leader, a proven liar and money launderer. Tonight they're trying to replace him, but every senior Conservative is tainted and the vultures are circling.
German people have an idea of rotten politics, and I think that's why the whole system is going to suffer.
Suffer, they fear, because Germany's far right is ready to march into the vacuum if the Conservative Party collapses, just as it has marched to power in neighbouring Austria. Germans are stunned by it all. Conservatives all over Europe are watching events here anxiously. Bill Neely, ITN, Berlin.
The computer software giant Microsoft tonight launched its long-awaited new operating system, Windows 2000. The Microsoft chairman, Bill Gates, said people were going to like it, but admitted that all the corporation's creativity was now going into its antitrust lawsuit with the American government. Here's Howell Jones.
Windows 2000 has already proved to be a moneymaker for lawyers, let alone its makers, Microsoft. Its official launch comes as Microsoft faces official competition investigations on both sides of the Atlantic. At the launch in San Francisco, Bill Gates led the fanfare for Windows 2000, Microsoft's new software for offices and businesses. If he was feeling the strain of competition inquiries in the US and the European Union, then it didn't show.
I really like this portable computer they made for me. It's about the right size for my desk.
But Microsoft's dominant position in the global software market is no joke for its competitors.
From the technical point of view, Microsoft is only doing what any other company would do in its situation, which is make its operating system more capable, more robust, more scalable, able to run on bigger machines.
Inquiries or not, it's sure to be a bestseller. Howell Jones, ITN.
Football now, and Kevin Keegan today called up 2 teenagers for his England squad for next Wednesday's friendly against Argentina. In his 19-year-old Steven Gerrard of Liverpool, who Keegan says is in outstanding form. He's also given a place to Aston Villa's Gareth Barry, who'll be 19 on the day of the match. The Leicester striker Stan Collymore was fined 2 weeks' pay today for letting off a fire extinguisher in a Spanish bar. His manager Martin O'Neill called it a yellow card offence. Here's Peter Staunton.
The Leicester manager spent half an hour listening to his players' version of events, but the verdict was guilty with no mitigating circumstances. Collymore, well wrapped up against the cold East Midlands wind, should have been jogging in the Spanish sunshine. Instead, he was being fined the best part of £30,000 for the antics which had infuriated hotel guests.
I'm not best pleased with Stan at the moment, and I'm not best pleased with number of people. You know, I don't believe it's acceptable. And in the present climate, when the number of incidents that have happened, it is certainly not acceptable.
But he's not the first manager to discover that unwelcome publicity has always followed Collymore around. For it to happen 5 days after signing him, though, is a record.
I've got to say, I did not expect it to happen so quickly. But I knew there would be an incident in the next month or two. I personally believe that this was not a sackable offence.
I do apologise to the manager who's been put in a situation where he's had to give a press conference, but we were just having a laugh with the lads.
There are few managers these days willing to take on Collymore despite his undoubted scoring talents. And now Leicester have made it clear he's only one more embarrassing episode away from being sacked. Peter Staunton, ITN Sport.
The main news again, British Nuclear Fuels will be criticised in an official report tomorrow for allowing plutonium records at Sellafield to be falsified. And the Frenchman brought in to rescue the Millennium Dome gave himself a month today to make a success of it. Tonight's financial figures. The 100-share index in London closed more than 60 points higher. In New York, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell, getting on for 50 points after another warning of interest rate rises to come by the Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan, and the pound was unchanged against the dollar. Now for a look at tomorrow's papers. And the Telegraph leads with the decision to clear the gynaecologist who was accused of removing a woman's womb without her consent. Next to Ian Ferguson and his wife, it shows his former patient, Caroline Richmond. The Guardian reports on the new Home Office research, which reveals that 295,000 women a year are raped or sexually assaulted. It pictures the cartoon characters chosen to spearhead the campaign to save the Dome. The Times also carries that story on rape statistics. It shows the Tory MP Theresa Gorman, who faces a month-long ban from the Commons. The Mirror claims to have tracked down one of the 28 missing suspects in the North Wales child abuse scandal. It also reports that Prince Charles is building Prince William a disco at Highgrove. And the Daily Mail claims detectives are investigating a new scandal of children in care. In a separate story, it pictures Jonathan Atwell, who died on a scout trip to Snowdon. And that's it for tonight. The ITV Evening News is at 6:30 tomorrow. We're back at 11 from all the ITV Nightly News team. Goodbye.
Good evening. Hopefully things are settling down for a time over the weekend, but at the moment it's all go. We've got wind and rain spreading eastwards across the country, some snow up over the higher ground in the north for a time. It should clear away later on in the night, although the far north of Scotland will stay rather dull with outbreaks of rain and sleet for much of the night. Elsewhere, a lot of dry weather, but some more blustery showers blowing in to western coast. A strong wind, but that should prevent a frost just about everywhere. So a breezy day tomorrow and a rather cloudy one in most places. There'll be some showery outbreaks to come, especially in the west and the north. And always the north of Scotland prone to seeing some more persistent rain and snow up over the hills. The best of the sunshine on the eastern side, both of England and Scotland. But even here, we could well see the odd shower penetrating through the gaps in the hills during the course of the day. It's going to feel cold in the far north of Scotland in particular. Temperatures here really struggling to get much more than 5 or 6. But elsewhere, something of an improvement in the range 7 to 10 Celsius, but in that wind it won't feel all that warm. That's it. Here's a summary.
Powergen. Power, whatever the weather.
Now on Carlton, London Tonight with Kate Harding.
Good evening. Police have launched a murder inquiry after a man was gunned down in East London tonight. The victim, who was aged in his 40s, was discovered by police lying in Forest View Road in Manor Park. A hunt's been launched for 2 suspects seen running from the scene. Friends and family of the first disabled man to attempt to row solo across the Pacific Ocean are taking heart tonight after satellite pictures showed he's back on course. London butcher Andrew Halsey had spent months going round in circles after strong winds blew him off course. Gareth Furby reports.
8 months ago, Andrew Halsey, a former butcher from Bloomsbury, set off from California to row across the Pacific Ocean to Australia. He has covered 6,000 miles, but for 4,000 of them has been going round in circles. Monitoring his lack of progress from a flat in Camden is the Ocean Rowing Society. But by fax this morning came the satellite tracking map they've been praying for, confirming that at last Andrew Halsey is back on course.
And we're delighted to see he's going west, a little bit north, but a bit at a time.
Why do you think he got so badly lost?
Just bad weather. He had no control. It's winds and currents.
The computer plot confirms that the circling has stopped, but the crisis isn't over yet. After so much wasted time, his food is running out, along with the batteries on his satellite beacon, identical to this. A ship will have to be sent with fresh supplies.
What we're looking at is a year at sea. Now, to believe that somebody can actually pull that off, it's a tall order.
His mother, though, is certain. Despite the epilepsy, his disability, and going round in circles, he will make it in the end.
He's a fisherman. He'll fish, he'll eat the fish that he catches, or anything that jumps on to the boat, he'll eat. He's brilliant at survival.
His flat in Bloomsbury was supposed to stay empty for just 2 more months. Now Andrew Halsey's friends only have that long to get fresh supplies to him in the Pacific Ocean before his satellite signal grows faint. This is Gareth Furby for London Tonight.
The Essex MP, Theresa Gorman, who has been suspended from the House of Commons for 1 month, says she won't resign her seat. A parliamentary standards watchdog found the Billericay MP had failed to register the substantial income she received from 3 South London properties. The suspension must now be confirmed by the Commons, but Miss Gorman claims she's done nothing wrong.
I'm not a fool, and I'm not a child. I know the rules, and as far as I'm concerned, I obeyed the rules.
Radical plans to redevelop the much criticised Arts Centre on the South Bank went on display today. Developers are hoping to transform the 30-acre site, which was built more than 35 years ago. The multi-million-pound overhaul would create a 6-acre elevated park, extend Jubilee Gardens and give buildings such as the Hayward Gallery and Queen Elizabeth Hall much-needed facelifts. Meanwhile, plans were also unveiled to redevelop Trafalgar Square. The £23 million scheme would pedestrianise the north side road between the square and the National Gallery and improve public crossings south side to the Mall. Minister for London Keith Hill and architect Lord Foster today launched the start of a public consultation on the new look. Shamed banker Nick Leeson, who's been battling cancer, is to run the London Marathon to raise money for those suffering from the disease. He'll tackle the 26-mile challenge in April to generate funds for the Mount Vernon Hospital in Middlesex. Leeson served 3 years for bringing down Barings Bank. Some of the remaining 200 Battle of Britain pilots gathered at the Imperial War Museum today. They were attending the launch of a new exhibition to mark their achievement during World War II. It's 60 years since the crucial campaign that was vital to the country's survival. The reunion brought back many memories for those involved in the war.
We're all about the same age, flying expensive machinery and having great fun and being very frightened. Anybody who says that he wasn't frightened in the Battle of Britain was a liar.
It sounds a terrible thing to say, but we were used to it in the sense that so many pilots got killed that you had the strength to hold up with it.
Finally, football, and Chelsea, which has been hit by defensive difficulties with the absence of a number of key players, has another problem to contend with. Nigerian left-back Celestine Babayaru seems to have gone AWOL. Babayaru hasn't contacted the club for 6 weeks while he's been on African Nations Cup duty. And all attempts to contact him since Sunday's final have failed. The club have named him for Sunday's match, but admit they're not really sure where he is. That's it for now. We're back tomorrow with bulletins in GMTV. Until then, good night.
Carlton Weather is sponsored by Amarada, the energy company.
Good evening. There's some messy weather around just now, some outbreaks of rain, but they should soon clear off eastwards, things drying up. Temperatures dipping no lower than around 4 Celsius, so no problems with frost. Be a bit of a breeze tonight, and there'll be a breeze tomorrow. That will carry a lot of cloud in from the west and the odd shower from time to time, but some places will escape, and there'll be a few glimpses of sunshine from time to time, helping lift temperatures a little bit higher than recently, 9s and 10s. 10 is 50 Fahrenheit, but with that breeze it won't feel all that warm. The outlook for the weekend not shaping up too badly. A lot of dry and bright weather, the odd shower on Saturday, and by Monday it will be clouding up again. That's it from me. I'll leave you with tomorrow's summary.
For a more detailed 5-day outlook, call Weather Update, sponsored by Amarada.